Do you remember your first radio? Are you ready to go back to the 1950s with fun stories? Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share with friends. Let's learn English in a simple way. The voice in the box, our first radio. The house of silence. Hello. How are you today? I am happy to tell you another story. Let's travel in time again. Today, the year is 1955. I am a very small child. I live in a house with my mother, my father, and my grandfather. In 1955, the world was very quiet. We lived in a small town. There were no big cars. There were no planes in the sky every minute. At night, the only sound was the wind in the trees. We did not have a television. We did not have a computer. We did not have a telephone. Our house was a house of silence. We talked, we sang, and we worked. But we wanted to know about the world. We wanted to hear music from far away. One Saturday, my grandfather said, "Today, the silence ends. Today, we bring the world into our house." My grandfather went to the city center. He walked for 30 minutes. When he came back, he carried a big object. It was wrapped in brown paper. He put the object on a small table in the corner of the living room. My mother, my father, and I stood around the table. We were very excited. My grandfather removed the brown paper. And there it was, our first radio. It was beautiful. It was a large box made of dark, polished wood. It was heavy. On the front, there was a piece of yellow cloth. Behind the cloth, there was the speaker. There were two big knobs made of black plastic. One knob was for the volume. The other knob was for the stations. In the center, there was a glass window. Inside the window, I saw numbers and names of cities: London, New York, Paris, Rio de Janeiro. "Is the world inside this box, Grandpa?" I asked. He smiled. "No, my child. The world is in the air. This box captures the air." My grandfather connected the wire to the wall. He turned the first knob. Click. But there was no sound. The radio was silent. "Is it broken?" I asked. "No," my father said. "The radio needs to breathe. It needs to warm up." Inside the radio, there were valves. Valves are like small glass lamps. I looked through the back of the radio. I saw a soft orange light. The valves were getting hot. Then I heard a sound. Hum. It was a low hum. It was the sound of energy. My grandfather turned the second knob. Scratch, scratch, zuzz. We heard static. It sounded like a storm. Suddenly, the static disappeared. A voice appeared. It was a clear, strong voice. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the national radio." My mother gasped. My father smiled. I was invisible, but I felt the magic. A man was talking in our living room. But the man was not there. He was in a big city far away. It was a miracle. The radio changed our lives. Every evening after dinner, we had a ritual. My mother finished the dishes. My father sat in his wooden chair. My grandfather sat on the sofa. I sat on the carpet, near the orange light of the radio. We did not look at a screen. We looked at each other. Or we closed our eyes. we listened to the radio theater. These were stories with actors, music, and sound effects. When the actor said, "The door opens," we heard a door creak. When the actress said, "It is raining," we heard the rain pitter-patter. We used our imagination. My mother imagined a beautiful palace. My father imagined a dark forest. I imagined a brave hero. We were all in the same room, but we were traveling to different places in our minds. The radio was a door to our imagination. In 1955, music was a treasure. We did not have music in our pockets. We had to wait for the radio to play a song. Sometimes a song started. It was a violin or a piano. My mother loved to dance. She stood up and danced with my father in the kitchen. "I love this song," she whispered. We heard singers from America. We heard singers from Europe. We did not understand the words in English, but we understood the feeling. The music was happy or the music was sad. I remember the first time I heard a big orchestra. It was so loud and powerful. My heart beat fast. I felt like I was in a grand theater in Paris. The radio was our teacher. We learned about different cultures. We learned about the news of the world. We were not alone in our small town anymore. We were part of the world. At 8:00 p.m., my father said, "Shah, it is time for the news." We were very quiet. The radio told us about big events. We heard about kings and queens. We heard about new inventions. We heard about the weather. "Tomorrow, it will be a sunny day," the radio said. My grandfather looked at the sky. "The radio was right," he said. Sometimes the news was sad. But we felt safe because we were together. The radio was a friend. It told us the truth. It connected our small house to the big history of humanity. At night, before I went to bed, the radio played soft music. It was a lullaby. I walked to my bedroom, but I could still hear the music. It was like a warm blanket. Years passed. The radio changed. It became smaller. It became made of plastic. Later, we had the television. Later, we had the internet. Today, I have a radio in my car. I have a radio on my phone. I have millions of songs in my hand. But it is not the same. Today, I don't wait for the radio to warm up. I don't see the orange light of the valves. Today, the music is everywhere, so sometimes we don't listen with our hearts. I miss the big wooden box. I miss the ritual of the family sitting together in silence. I miss the scratch sound between the stations. That old radio taught me to listen. It taught me to imagine. It taught me that the best things in life take time to warm up. If you are 50, 60, or 70 years old, do you remember your first radio? Was it made of wood? Was it big or small? Close your eyes for a moment. Can you hear the voice? Can you hear the music? The radio is gone. The memory is here. And memories are the most beautiful songs of our lives. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope you have a beautiful and musical